I remember I was in a fast food outlet purchasing some food, and I heard some people in the line speaking about a recent case that had happened that was in the news, a domestic violence case. And, it was what they said that really caused me to want to tell my story, because they were saying things like, she liked the licks, that's why she stay. And woman's stupid, eh? Well, how do I take that? And, that caused a passion inside of me, ignited a fire. I wanted to tell my story because I realized that people don't understand domestic violence. There are so many things involved why someone would stay, or why it would take longer for a person to even get the strength to leave. So that caused me to want to tell my story so people could understand deeper what happens to victims in domestic violence.
I'm okay in my human form. That's just the calm before the storm. In my head it keeps raging on. Oh my brother, can you hear the song? Many years ago I had a dream. I sold my dream so I could eat. Now I'm eaten and I am full. I lost my soul and gained the world.
Early morning, and the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago go to work, to school, hoping and dreaming all under the same hot Caribbean sun. But citizens have become frustrated. Crime and the violence is the norm. We are discontented and disconnected.
What is a citizen? A citizen is not separate, but belongs. A citizen knows goodness to one can be kindness to many. We all as citizens can make change happen. We all have something good to give, even if it is just a smile or a thank you.
The power to change negativity to positivity is in every citizen. We all have our fights, our stories, our joys. This is the story of one citizen, her fight, truth, and hope.
I am Kamika. I am citizen.
20 years of hell. You can't always tell the secrets and stories that happen within the walls of a home. This home can tell the story of one woman's journey from the pain and violence of an abusive relationship to strength and hope.
I'm really excited about meeting my school friends today because I haven't seen them in a couple of years. Growing up without my dad was really difficult. I really needed to have him around. I felt like there was a big gap, a big space. He wasn't there. I really needed that strong male figure in my life. And I couldn't understand why everyone else had their dad and I didn't have my dad. At times I started to think, well, probably it was something I did. Probably it was how I looked. Why didn't he love me? And as long as I can remember, for most of my life, I would search for that male figure or that love from a male person that I felt was missing. Come. So you shy. Come. Good morning.
Good morning.
You know, wake up. Morning.
Morning.
Brush your teeth already? I remember I was 7 years old, and my mom came inside with a storybook actually, and some other packages. And I remember her giving me the storybook and resting the other stuff on the table, and then she said, "Your dad just brought this." And I remember running into the gallery as fast as I could to see who's my dad. Why didn't he say hello to me? And when I got to the gallery and I looked up the road, I only saw the back of someone turning the corner. I kept trying to understand why he would come and drop stuff and never say hello. Didn't he just want to see me smile? He didn't just want to just hold me for once, lift me up like a father should? You have any spelling to learn?
I don't know.
So we will check because you have tests next week, so you need to do some revision for school. All right? Okay? Okay? All right. So I'm coming back.
I can use it for my
No, Alyssa. If somebody called for me, how would I leave my phone with you? I'm coming back just now. Come on.
So you just look like this. I know this is coming. Look at you.
I'm coming back. Every time I ask my mom about my dad, she would say that he's abroad. And that was it. She never really went into an explanation. Up until about 5 years ago, I strongly believed that I was unlovable. That it was something with me that caused people not to be able to love me. I remember at 14 years old, I was raped by an acquaintance. He was 25 years old, and that really impacted my life because I was very naive at that age. Didn't really know anything about sex and so on, and it hurt a lot. But what would have impacted my life even worse is I had this one friend that I truly trusted, and I told him. He was the only person I told that I had gotten raped. And his response to that was that he raped me as well. And then one day I started hating men. I remember having a whole whirlwind of feelings: betrayal, hurt, pain. Couldn't understand why men just couldn't love me again. That feeling kept coming. And I decided then and there that I would get back at all men. I started hating men, and I started being very promiscuous. I used my body to control men, to manipulate them, to get back at them. I would do anything I had to hurt a man, like the way they hurt me.
I remember Kamika would write some really beautiful poetry. You remember that, Kamika? Used to write very well.
I didn't really think they were all that.
No, they were great. And there's this particular one. You had a way of writing about persons who suffered injustices. And there's one with a female that you wrote. She was abused. She was sexually abused. And at the time, I really couldn't understand it because I didn't understand the experience. But I thought, wow. We walked to your house. I don't know what I was doing there. We went into your bedroom. We looked at the mirror because you were talking about yourself. I think you were doing some modeling too.
Yeah.
Yes, you're doing some modeling, right? And you had pictures of yourself stuck on the mirror. And I thought, wow, Kamika is very focused. She's very beautiful. And she's very in touch with people's feelings. But I also told myself, I wonder if Kamika suffered any of this. But if she did, I can't even help her, because I don't know what to do.
Well, it's kind of weird to hear you all say that because in my mind, I felt like everybody knew what was happening and everybody thought the worst of me. So I guess it's good to walk down memory lane and hear that you guys, you actually saw me in a different light than what I actually saw in myself. That time it was difficult for me because I had gotten raped. While I was about 14 when I got raped.
Right.
And coming back to school was difficult. And I didn't just get raped once, but I got raped a second time by somebody I trusted. So what you all guys didn't know is that I had made up my mind to really to take advantage of men.
Wow.
So that's why you would find that, the boys being around me, I use that to my advantage to get whatever I want. I felt powerful knowing that I could do whatever I want, and like there were those little pawns in my hand.
That's a serious type of objective, Kamika.
That's how it felt to me. At the age of 16 years old, I met a guy who I believed would protect me. He was in a gang. He was what we would call a bad boy. And I believe that his being in a gang and his whole persona would have protected me. I felt a sense of security and I started trusting him. However, that violence turned on me. And that was the first time I would have experienced physical abuse. Shortly after that relationship with the guy in the gang, I met my ex-husband. I met the person that I was going to marry. And, I really felt like he was Prince Charming. But that relationship went from good to bad to worse. And what I thought would be the best years of my life turned out to be 20 years of hell. I had 2 children with him before we were married, and then I have 5 children in marriage, so altogether we have 7 kids, and the entire relationship was 20 years. When I first met my ex-husband, it was like a fairy tale. He made me laugh all the time. He was extra caring, extra loving. He seemed to always want to be around me all the time, every minute of the day. And for somebody who was lacking that male love, I felt like this was the one. However, that excessive love and excessive caring soon turned into almost like obsession. I couldn't do much things without him around. He would insist that he had to be there. He had to be with me everywhere. Everything I did, I had to account to him for everything I did. And then it was like I couldn't do anything right. Everything I did became a problem. It was always I didn't do it good enough, or it was completely wrong. I felt like I was under a microscope. He would criticize every single thing I did. Self-esteem, I started to doubt myself again. I started to think that I am doing something that is causing people not to love me. At that time, I didn't really realize that I was a victim of domestic violence. I really believe that I was doing something wrong. The abuse could take place like nearly every day, but it was different types. So verbal abuse, emotional abuse, that took place every day. He would always have something to say about myself, or about my body, or about my education. If it wasn't that, it was about the way I dressed. If it wasn't that, then the physical abuse that could take place at least once a week. Once I gave him opposition to whatever it is he wanted done, physical abuse would take place. And sexual abuse that took place every day. I didn't have a say when it came to that. It was whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted it. I remember many times I would cry during sex, and that never stopped him. Many times I would really think that I was useless. Sometimes I think that I should just die, because I would ask, how could I, a mother, just sit by and see my children being abused? I believe that everyone knew what was taking place in my community, especially people that were closest around our home. because once an episode was happening, there was a lot of noise. You would hear me screaming, there'd be a lot of cursing, you'd hear stuff being mashed up. He would come out in the yard, he'd talk very loud, he'd curse loudly, say derogatory things about me really loudly. And sometimes these things would happen 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, during the day, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock when it's quiet. And I know that my neighbors would hear, because sometimes I would see them peeping out. I'd see them watching and going back inside. Now, I don't blame them. I'm not upset with them. But I understand now that because of a lack of understanding of domestic violence, people don't really get involved. And it's because of all those experiences why I've chosen to speak up. I decided that I had to get out of the relationship, if not for myself, for my kids. I knew it would have been hard, and the reality of leaving my marriage, it felt like a failure. And that was one thing I didn't want to feel like. But I knew that I had to do it. I had to do it for my children's sake. Because I couldn't allow them to live in that any longer.
Now Kamika's home tells the story of more laughter, more play, still struggle, but more hope. By not being silent, finding her strength, she changed her life and her children's future. In the next episode, we see how growing in a house with domestic violence impacted Kamika's son, Daniel, as well as his own struggle to break free from his father's legacy of violence.
If my father had stayed, I believe that I would not be sitting here today talking to you. I might have been behind the bars because I was really planning to go and do my father something just to stop the abuse of my mother.
Now what you see is what you get. Press this button and reset. Yes, wilder than the west, you might just get your chest wet. Red, catch up on your shirt and put you under house arrest.